All right, guys, Nations Cup. Now, let's just not drop our standards here, okay? It should be easy work for us. These teams are like 100 places or higher below us on the world rankings. Just pick up wins like Senegal can beat Montenegro and go up the world rankings, and we can beat them 5-0 and it does nothing to them. So, like, just make sure you win. We might go back up the world rankings again, okay? Let's pick up a Nations Cup, guys. If you don't, oh, it could be bad. So just make sure you don't lose and then our ranking might go up. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 122 of the New Zealand Builder Nation here on Shaun Does FM with both Cashmere Tech and the All Whites. Hope you're doing well. And coming up today, we've got the OFC Nations Cup Final for 2036, where as you can see on screen, we will take on the other new in Oceania in New Caledonia. So if you're looking forward to that as well as a bit of an update on life at Cashmere Tech, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. Yesterday we took on Hikari United in the Champions League final with Cashmere Tech, so if you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner of that episode. Didn't actually end up as bad as I thought it would be, considering I deleted half the footage and did have to re-record it. But coming up today, we are going to play the OFC Nations Cup Final with the All Whites. But before then, quick update on what's gone on since then at Cashmere Tech. First up, only played a couple of games, 3 in the National League and 2 in the Chatham Cup, and won them all pretty comfortably, clean sheets and by a 3-goal margin at least. So things going very well for us domestically here at Cashmere Tech. And a quick update at what each of the National League tables do look like. Northern League, Auckland City on top, albeit these days they have lost a couple of games to both Manurewa and Naroa here. That second one a bit more surprising. Havelock North still undefeated and pretty clear on top of the Central League. So those guys might be the real deal this season. Does look like they'll definitely be in the National League come later this year. Maybe that'll be a new bus trip that we can do. And we're 7 points clear with a game in hand in the Southern League, currently Nelson Suburbs in that second qualifying spot. So that's what's going on in terms of on the field. Off the field though, there's been a big thing happen. If we go back to the home screen, you will see our wage budget now. We are over it now by £5,000, even though going to the start of the season, we had about 7k spare. That's not because of signings, that's because of the financial situation. You can see it there. We're £1.5 million in debt. Our wage budget, it did get reduced, unfortunately. Don't still have the inbox item to show you by how much, but it must have been around about 12,000. It did get reduced by, we're supposed to be spending about £34,000 a week. We're currently spending 39, so we might need to sell some players here at the end of the season at Cashmere Tech. And to be fair, we've already sold one, and he might be about to play in this upcoming game with the All Whites. Going over to the inbox, you can see there, had to replace him as a vice captain. Ryan Billingsley is the first player we have sold because of that wage budget issue. To be fair, still got enough centre backs in Anderson, Kanate, Hughes and Victoros, albeit 2 of those guys are quite old. But to be fair, Billingsley, no spring chicken at 29 years old. He's gone over to the UAE to join Benias. That was for a fee of £35,000. To be fair, wasn't on too high of a wage. The only downside to this is that the UAE don't play any league games in the save, and I'm not too sure if they even play in the AFC Champions League. So that's a bit of an interesting transfer. He might come into All White squads pretty unfit there. Might Ryan Billingsley, but he was the first player who was wanted. We could actually get rid of at Cashmere Tech, and we still have the spare players at the squad to make sure that we didn't need to sign someone in his place, because currently we can't do that because of wage budget reasons. So Ryan Billingsley no longer at Cashmere Tech, but thankfully you'll still see him in the All White squad coming up off the back of that move to Benias these days, valued somewhere between £500,000 and 2.8 million. We get shafted yet again because we are Cashmere Tech. But time to switch over into All Whites mode for this one game. In today's episode, we're making our way through the OFC Nations Cup, and as you'd expect, it's been pretty comfortable. Started off with a 4-1 win over Tahiti, backed up with a 7-1 win, and then we finished up the pool with a 3-0 win over our final opposition in New Caledonia. To be fair, did give a fair few players who needed a rest in that game one. Seeing as these games have been quite held on the back of each other, just want to make sure that we're not putting out too many players on a heavy workload, and it paid off in the semi where we beat Vanuatu 5-0. So far, pretty comprehensive here in the OFC Nations Cup in New Caledonia. Going back to the group, they did beat, of course, the other two teams in Papua New Guinea and Tahiti before the semi-finals, where they thrashed Fiji 4-1. So that's how they made their way to this final at the MCG. It always is at the MCG. No idea why, because Australia these days, not part of Oceania, but we are definitely the hot favourites for this one. Really should be winning it and doing it quite comfortably. In terms of the squad for this window, though, a couple of changes. The usual pecking order in the All Whites. One of the areas where it's not the case, there's just been an injury. There's no Jamie Kelly. That means that young Shaun from Aberdeen, he got a shot in this tournament in the All White squad. The 19-year-old, as you can see, has scored a couple of goals as well in this OFC Nations Cup. But a couple more changes are based on actual ability. The first of them is that Sam Clark comes in as a deep-lying playmaker over Marco Stamenic. So these days, our Cashmere Tech lad actually better than Marco, the lad at Nottingham Forest / Olympiacos in real life. So good work there from Sam Clark. Now the second-choice deep-lying playmaker in behind Michael Cornelius Beale. So that's definitely a change. Not too surprising, though, when you have a look at how good his mentals are these days. And the other change does come in defensive midfield as well. And Marcus Vinicius, he got his first All Whites cap over the course of this tournament, becoming a New Zealander. That meant we could get rid of Anto Baric. Vinicius, definitely better. And so far, 2 goals and 2 caps, which is a bit surprising for a ball-winning midfielder, but he must be enjoying life here down in Oceania. So a couple of changes we did make going in to this OFC Nations Cup. We did keep Martin Darman. He was actually fit for this one and does look on paper a lot better than Victor Sono. Also, you can see there a transfer bid for Alex Paulson. That's just another move over in Ligue A. Looks like he'll be going from Stade Rennais over to Montpellier. So he's kind of mirroring what happened over in the Anzac Challenge, which we were doing nearly a year ago there over on Twitch. Alex Paulson kind of doing the same thing there, off to the Mont over in Ligue 1. He's been hopping around a few clubs there over in France since he did leave AFC Auckland the second time around off the back of that weird transfer where we sold him to Dallas and they let him go because good old MLS registration rules and whatnot. But we are pretty hot favourites going into this one at the MCG. Did a bus trip pretty early on in this save there, so don't need to worry about that. New Caledonia beat them 3-0 back in the group phase, so this should be a team that we can beat. 137 from the world. You'd like to think this will be pretty comfy work and maybe even can get a bit of a rise up the rankings off the back of this. Unfortunately, what I was hoping would happen hasn't quite worked out so far. We are still 32nd in the world. Still no idea how Senegal will rise up the rankings off the back of beating Montenegro. While we can't do it, I have no idea how the rankings work in this save. So let's just maybe stop talking about it, but hopefully can end the week here with a trophy lift, we should do as we take on New Caledonia in the OFC Nations Cup Final. And here are the team sheets for this 2036 OFC Nations Cup Final. First up is New Caledonia. This must be done on alphabetical order, but they're going with a 4-4-2, just 3 changes to our usual first choice 11 because of tiredness. Billingsley's in there over Curtis. May as well use him. Won't be playing for Cashmere Tech in our next game. And also Vinicius and Clark in defensive midfield. Both Evans and, of course, Beale are a little bit tired. And, of course, Vinicius, while the Cashmere Tech lad is third choice, is definitely someone we can start on international duty. But this should, in theory, be a pretty comfortable win, albeit only 3-0 in the group phase. Hopefully can turn on the style here in this final. Clark there finds Pickering, cuts inside, takes on a shot there. Does the Porto man, but to be fair, pretty average one, goes well over that top right corner, still 0-0. And now we're down the other end here for a throw-in, so a little bit of a concerning start. Bigfoot in there, it goes an absolute mould that, and Tibbet can clean that one up there for New Caledonia in the red with the grey trim, I would say that is, but they pumped that one too deep, and Alex Paulson, you'd imagine soon to be a Mont man, he plays that one out to his centre-backs. Vinicius plays that one forward to Young, and now George McDonald, can he pop up with an EI goal? Plays it to Pickering, all over the top. Keyed actually really good header down there for McDonald, and that's a really good chance. But to be fair, Julian in goal for New Caledonia does come up with a good save there, made himself nice and big and right in the face of George McDonald. Off the back of that, a corner, but New Caledonia can clear that one away. Still 0-0 at the 10-minute mark. And going forward only a few minutes off the back of those opening couple of highlights, now as a front here for New Caledonia. So actually getting a few highlights here which are starting off with them on the ball, and Navarro there does quite well to keep hold of. They try and play a ball over the top there. No foul. I thought for a minute that could potentially be a bit of a card trouble issue there for Adam White, but thankfully that's not the case. And Pickering plays that one forward to Jamie Young, forward to Keat, then forward to McDonald. To be fair, he's well offside. Justin Keat there probably should have just taken on the shot. Guy, stop celebrating. He was so far offside, it's not funny. So unfortunately, still 0-0 past the 15-minute mark. That is a bit average from us, considering we're playing a team over 100 places below us in the world rankings. Now McDonald gets another chance. He makes his way forward, and again Julian comes up with a good save. So BP McDonald has had some chances where he's been hitting the target so far. Bit of a poor rating of a 6.4, but the goalkeeper has made a couple of good saves, and again we can't do too much from the subsequent corner, albeit White now in a bit of space here down the left hand side, but he was offside. But still encouraged, but not a great start here. Should really have scored by this point, and there's a free kick off the back of that we do see, but thankfully Vinicius can win it in the air. McDonald plays that forward to Pickering, back out there to Keat, who just turns his back to goal and plays it back there to Tyler Bin, still at Wolves in England. And now a nice ball over the top there for Pickering. He'll get a chance, that one on target nearly, but it comes off the woodwork. A couple of good chances so far, just can't quite score, and it's still 0-0. And coming to the half-hour mark in this game, and still 0-0, which is a bit concerning. But a corner here, and it's Josh Pickering at the near post. Thought that must have been a centre-back, but it's the Porto lad who gets his head on the end of that one. Thankfully beats Julian there, going low and hard into the ground there on that left-hand side of him. And eventually we make it 1-0. And hopefully now that might open up the floodgates. That one actually straight into the path of Julian, but thankfully still finds its way into the back of net. Bindon was also there. You would have thought he might have got his head on the end of that one, but it's the little lad at left wing instead. And now a free kick. Keat tries to square it, but not too well. New Caledonia do get a chance to clear their lines. Now Darman, a rare start for him in an All Whites jersey, because he's usually pretty naked here when he does come in to the All White squad, seeing as he plays for a bit of a battler over there in England, in Salford in the Championship. But we're just keeping the ball here nicely down this right-hand side. Vinicius will pick out Darman, first time cross. Now that one will find McDonald a bit fortunate. A looping header comes off the woodwork, right place, right time, and eventually George McDonald does pick up an EIEI goal. To be fair, he's been pretty average so far in this game, save a couple of good saves from their goalkeeper, but this time gets a bit lucky. First time cross there from Darman, but surprised he didn't take his man on. But a looping header comes off the crossbar, he beats the defenders to it and just pokes that one home, bottom right corner, quick fire double, and we make it 2-0. And in fact, right off the back of that second goal, there is a highlight from the restart. New Caledonia on the ball, obviously, and they just take their time here to try and make their way into our half. Caron plays that one for there to Navarro. I wonder if Caron will complain about the result if they do lose here, New Caledonia, but now they do just keep the ball there. Thought we might have a chance to get it back down our right-hand side. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. Bibbit plays that one forward there to Deflemville, I think that name might have been. They play it forward here to Costes up front before going back out there to Bahu, who looks like their right back. Now Gillette down their right-hand side. Is this a chance for New Caledonia to fight back in this game? A shot which comes off the woodwork, thankfully, doesn't quite find its way over the line. So we get a bit lucky there off the back of scoring that second goal. Might even be a chance for us here to do something on the counter-attack, albeit Keat is taking his time on the ball. So I dare say this highlight might end shortly. Indeed it does. Still 2-0 All Whites. And only a couple of minutes on from that chance for New Caledonia to make it 2-1. They now have a free kick looking near far post, but thankfully Bindon got his head to there. Now Adam White can start to make his way forward down that right-hand side. Picks out Darman. Let's just see what White does, because we could be a bit lost here on the left-hand side if he doesn't track back. I think he eventually is now over towards that bottom left corner, probably almost behind my face cam, but he's eventually made his way to the right place, and off the back of that, Billingsley does play the ball to him, the lad who no longer is at Cashmere Tech because of blimmer money problems yet again. But Pickering makes his way onto the box, floats that one far post there for Justin Keat. Now we're starting to turn on the style here late in the second half. Justin Keat with a header into that bottom right corner, and definitely showing our superiority here in Oceania. It's not the greatest game to show you guys, but to be fair, it would be the exact same thing in the Southern League and the Chatham Cup at the moment. And this is a trophy game. We don't get too many of those with the All Whites, but Justin Keat with a good header makes it 3-0. And the highlights continue here in the first half, and a couple of minutes left. New Caledonia on the ball, but play that one back to Julian in goal. He pumps it deep. Thankfully, Billingsley heads it down to his former teammate there in Clark. Now, Justin Keat will cut inside off the back of that previous headed goal. Almost goes through someone there. Bit of tough, perfect work there from the man of Porto, and that is a good square there for Sam Clark. One of our Cashmere Tech lads will pick up a goal in an OFC Nations Cup Final, and that should really put this game to bed, even though not quite half-time. There should be no chance here. New Caledonia score 5 goals in the second half, and we score none otherwise. Oh boy, I'm in trouble of getting sacked, but it's a good goal there. Sam Clark gets his name onto the score sheet probably. Someone we should take off early in the second half so he's back in time for our next game at Cashmere Tech, but that was a very good first half. Eventually took us a wee while to score, but eventually we do, actually outperforming our XG, which is quite nice indeed. 4-0, I don't think any changes needed just yet. Hopefully a few more goals, and we can turn on the style here at the MCG in this Nations Cup Final. And just shy of 10 minutes into the second half, we get the first highlight here, a free kick in our favour. McDonald tries to float that one into the mix, so not the greatest effort from us there, and New Caledonia do get a chance to clear it, but thankfully Adam White's back there to tidy things up and plays it across the Darman, and now to Justin Keat. Loses out briefly, and a bit of ping pong here in terms of trying to find position in the midfield, but eventually played through there from Clark for Josh Pickering, and I think now he gets himself on a hat trick. He does the Carlton, which is an interesting dance to do there, just in any situation, but especially in a final. But we are feeling happy now. Good interception from Clark, and from there Pickering just finds the gap and puts it away there. Does the Porto man, good finish into the top right corner, 5-0, nice and early in the second half. And in fact, right off the back of that, we get a highlight from the restart. So let's see what happens from this. New Caledonia try and make their way into our half, and maybe we'll try and score a goal here in this final to try and get some respect. But so far, doing a better job here than we did back in the group stage. So ping them out right there to Gillett back there. I think that was Bahu, and now Gillett back on the ball, and again back to Bahu, and the name that looks like DeFreeville. Now I've got a decent chance to look at it for an amount of time. That is a name, that he goes back there to Karen, the complainer at centre back. He'll be a bit annoyed so far. New Caledonia up to nothing in this game, but to be fair, no penalties yet that they can complain about. That usually does happen in OFC games, but a chance here from a header for New Caledonia. Comes off the woodwork and thankfully just do enough there to clear our lines, and then Young goes down. We try and play a ball forward here for McDonald, but good work from Julien to take that one off the feet of McDonald, but to be fair, he was offside anyway. Still 5-0, but right off the back of that, another highlight here, but that was a bit of an interesting one. Could have been chances at both ends. In the end, did amount to nothing, but now we try and get something going here down our left-hand side. Young plays that one back to Sam Clark, having a pretty good game. Is the Cashmere Tech lad in these days for Marco Stumnich. Definitely getting some young blood coming through in the save. Now Pickering glides his way forward down the left-hand side, gets taken out there by DeFreeville, and that's a penalty. Might be a chance here for someone to complete their hat-trick. Let's just see who will be taking this penalty. It's actually George McDonald looking for another EIEI goal. He goes straight down the middle, and that will make it 6-0. That's a pretty comfy penalty there from George, nice and confident from our captain here with the All Whites 6-0, just shy of the hour mark. And in fact, now we've gone past the hour mark, I think it's a good time here for us to make our first sub. As I mentioned at halftime, Sam Clark, I kind of want him for our next game at Cashmere Tech, the only starter in this lineup from Cashmere Tech, so we'll take him off here for Beale, but to be fair, everyone else out there is playing well. It's a final, don't have to worry about fitness too much. Off the back of this, still 6-0 with a half hour left. And we just made one to the last 20 minutes of this game, so things are quieting down a bit off the back of that 6th goal, which was scored from the spot by George McDonald, but as a free kick here, Julien will pump this one deep at someone. There gets a header on the end of it. Might have actually been McDonald, and Keat plays a nice curving ball forward there to Big George. It's an EIEI goal to complete a hat-trick there for our man from Nelson up front, the former Phoenix man these days, making an absolute killing over there in Saudi Arabia. A bit of a shame. He's definitely good enough to be playing in a league like the Prem, but unfortunately, Saudi money does mean he's a bit hard to get, but he's done a decent job today off the back of a couple of chances he did miss nice and early in this game, actually quite well saved from the New Caledonia goalkeeper. That makes it 7-0, just snuck our way into the last 15 minutes. Hopefully can make all these subs now and give some of these guys a rating. We'll definitely bring on the youngsters in Neon Kuru right back and Shaun Pearce for Jamie Young. That leaves 2 more subs. Tyler Bindon going fairly on a 6.9. Also, in fact, let's take off Paulson for Debenham, give him a run. He needs some game time. But I think also we'll take off Bindon and we might bring on Simon Curtis in his place. Does look like he might need the match fitness a bit more than Lucas Kelly-Hill to just try and give some of these guys some fitness, even though we're actually coming up to the end of the European season. It's not too sure if some of these guys will need it, but that's all our subs used. 7-0 with 10 minutes left. And in fact, before I can wrap things up, there is a corner in our favour. Keat will float this far post looking for Curtis. He doesn't jump, but Tressel's there to tidy things up down our left-hand side. Plays that one in there for Bielsa. A bit of bench impact here in this highlight so far. Good tackle there from Costes, but thankfully we just do enough to keep it white. Plays that one back to Billingsley and now to Curtis. Now he goes out there to Tressel, Justin Keat, just inside the box. Let's see what he can do. Squares it. It falls to Shaun Pearce off the bench. He's barely been on and he picks up a goal. Does the youngster who hopefully might be a big fixture in this team in a couple of years' time with the decent potential he does have, the lad over in Aberdeen. But McDonald rather kindly lets that one fall through the youngster who puts it away, and that makes it 8-0 as we're inside the last 10 minutes of this one. Let's see if anything else happens late on in this game. But this has been a bit of a bloodbath. New Caledonia not showing nearly as much fight as they did back in the group stages. Maybe the semi-final was their final when they did take on Fiji, but to be fair, not much happening off the back of that 8th goal, but that is a very comfy win in the OFC Nations Cup Final, as you'd expect, considering we're about 100 places higher than that team that we just took on in that final. But clearly the best team here in Oceania, going to get a chance to show it again, I think, later this year and next year, once we get stuck in to World Cup qualifying, which we definitely should be doing in a very similar fashion. But we are the OFC Nations Cup champions in 2036 off the back of that 8-0 win over New Caledonia. So a very comfortable win as expected there in the OFC Nations Cup Final. I've just noticed there in the bottom right corner that apparently that got played a year earlier this time around, which is a little bit weird, but we have now won it 4 times in a row here in the save. Of course, 2020 was before the save started, and COVID was a thing back then, so we can't really count that. New Zealand absolutely have a hold on this trophy, as you'd expect off the back of Australia leaving for Asia all those years ago. But unfortunately, that's done nothing for our FIFA World Ranking. We are still 32nd in the world. Thankfully, Senegal have now dropped down a little bit, so it does look a bit more respectable. Them in 31st instead of up in 28th, where Switzerland are, like was the case for a little while. So I definitely think we should be a little bit higher because we beat them 5-0 last time around. We're definitely a better team than those guys are. And Australia, not too far behind us these days. It's a little bit of a tight area, that one, in and around the 30s of the FIFA World Rings. But that will do it for today's episode. We pick up the OFC Nations Cup to end this week here of the Build a Nation series. If you enjoyed it, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We'll come back next week, probably get into some stuff with Cashmere Tech, either the final stages of the Chatham Cup, or hopefully get into the National League Championship and take on maybe some new teams like Havelock North. They do look like an interesting matchup this year off the back of what they're doing in the Central League. So until the start of next week for some Cashmere Tech stuff, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.